Hello and welcome back for the final video, part 4 of how to survive silly season. This is where all the fun stuff happens because we'll talk about the application of all the recommendations across the last 3 videos. By now, you should have done some planning. You should be more in tune with when to be flexible and when not to be flexible. And now we're going to talk about specific strategies for drinking events and also eating out. Let's talk about calories first. So you should have picked your nutrition approach now. And if you haven't, go back and watch video 2 and then let me know what your nutrition approach is so we can plan around it for you. Let's make this work for you with your festive food and drink recommendations, as well as some backup options for when you can't get the meal that you've planned. For nutrition clients, this is a little bit more relevant for you rather than just exercise clients. But when we're talking about macronutrients, we know that each type of macronutrient in foods contain different amounts of calories. Protein and carbs both have 4 calories. Fat has 9 calories, so just over double of what protein and carbs have, and alcohol has 7 calories. Lots of people don't realize alcohol is actually a macronutrient. It is a funny one because it doesn't provide any actual nutrition. It doesn't provide nutrients to us, but it does provide calories. And that is because the ethanol, which is alcohol, is an energy source. A gram of alcohol or ethanol is 7 calories, and 1 standard drink contains 10 grams of ethanol. That is how standard drinks are defined. It's not by just volume, it is by how many grams of ethanol are in it. For example, if a drink was to have 5 grams of ethanol in it, it would have half a standard drink. Or if a drink like a cocktail was to have 20 grams of ethanol in it, it would be 2 standard drinks. So that's why drinks are a higher percentage per volume are higher in alcohol. For example, if you know what a double black is, I feel sorry for you because you probably had a terrible experience with it. It is very high concentration of alcohol compared to something like a regular beer or like a regular cider or a regular pre-mixed drink. When it comes to alcohol, if you have any drink that's a standard drink, it will already have 70 calories in it because of the ethanol content. As well as that, you have to add in whatever else it's mixed with or whatever else is in that natural production process. For example, beers have some carbohydrate as well as the alcohol. So you'll have to add on some calories from the carbohydrate content there. Wine also has carbohydrates in the form of sugar from the grapes. So the more sugary wines that have residual sugar in them will be high calorie than the drier wines that are lower sugar. A couple of standard drinks measures I've just put on here. So 30 mils of spirits, your standard shot, 100 mils of wine, 275 mils of beer. You'll notice, especially with the wine and the beer, that's much smaller than what you'd actually be served at a restaurant. At a restaurant, you'd probably be served 150 mils of wine to 250 mils of wine. So always important to keep that in mind for both the alcohol as well as the calorie content. You can go onto this site. You can just click on from your PTD profile here where the slides are. Click here and adjust the slider that's on the right-hand side here to measure what your pour of your wine is. And it will tell you how much your actual standard drinks in that wine are. So don't be surprised if it comes back at 1.5 to 2 times a standard drink if you have a bit of a bigger pour. The lowest calorie alcohol is spirits because spirits don't have any carbohydrate, fat, or protein with them as well. It's just the ethanol. I recommend to have this and mix with a 0-calorie mixer if you're drinking out. The most common thing you'll be able to get is vodka soda. Diet Coke with rum or spiced rum is actually a really nice mix as well. Diet tonic and gin or diet lemon lime bitters and vodka. Something like that will just give you 70 calories per drink. So if you're going to have, say, 2 to 4 standard drinks that are just these, you'll get around 280 calories at the most. Whereas if you choose to have 4 cocktails, you may have 1,200 calories. I will just point out here as well that the alcohol guidelines recommend consuming no more than 4 standard drinks in one day and no more than 10 in 1 week. But I do know a lot of you are asking about the alcohol content in certain drinks and what to choose when you're out and about. So it would be remiss of me not to include these slides. Like I mentioned, cocktails will be higher calorie because they have 1 to 2 shots of spirits in each cocktail. So that's 70 to 140 calories from spirits alone, plus you'll have sugar, fat, and more from mixers. So an espresso martini, for example, has different creamy liqueurs in it. That adds a whole other sort of ball game for the calories. You're going to have around 300 to 400 calories in there. So definitely keep that in mind if you keep going back to the bar. And I also don't recommend having caffeine so late at night either. Pay attention to the alcohol guidelines. Don't overdo it. Pick spirits with 0-calorie mixes and take these calories from your carbohydrate intake allowance in your macros. So don't take it away from your protein or your fat, because your protein and your fat are your most important macronutrients. Carbohydrates, you can kind of take them or leave them, especially if you're going to swap some out for alcohol. Also stay hydrated when you drink. Try and be prepped for the next morning so that you mitigate a hangover and you don't eat hangover food. In terms of going out for a cafe breakfast or a restaurant breakfast, it's super easy to choose a healthy option. Restaurant breakfasts are very much typical of what you'd eat at home. Something like eggs on toast or an omelette. Scrambled eggs with a side of veg is what I would recommend. Ask for whole grain or sourdough toast. If they're pieces this big and they come with 2 or 3 on the plate, just eat one. Eat what you would eat at home. Don't just eat it because it's sitting there in front of you. You should also be able to get a muesli, oats, or porridge kind of option, or yogurt or fruit salad option. So just pick something fresh and light, and like I said, like what you would eat at home. Eating at restaurants for lunches and dinners. Simply choose a lean main with a focus on protein. There will always be some kind of chicken breast, fish, steak, chops, something that can be lower fat and high in protein. If you're a vegetarian, it may be a little bit harder here, but try and get something with tofu as the main. Simply ask to change the sides for salad and veg. Share a main if it's a larger portion that you'd eat at home, and add a side salad. So if you and your partner go to a pizza restaurant like Doc, for example, you would share a pasta and half that, and then also add a side salad so you get your vegetables in too. If you're going to eat a big meal out, you can choose not to eat snacks in the day so that you have sort of more calories to play with for that bigger meal. That's okay, it averages out over the day. So don't worry about eating a little bit less in the day to make up for a bigger meal at lunchtime or dinner time. If you're going to track your calories when eating out, keep in mind that chefs do use a really high amount of oil and butter to improve the taste of meals. So always add more than you would use at home. Generally, adding another 20 to 40 mil of oil or fat will be ballparked around where it is, depending on how the food is cooked. Or you can always ask for the dressings on the side as well, or for minimal oil or no butter on the toast, for example, if you're out for breakfast. You can also reduce the fat in your other meals of the day if you're going to go out for a rich meal. So if you do plan on having something like a steak and chips at dinner, it's probably going to be cooked in a lot of olive oil. You don't have to then add cheese, nuts, avocado, for example, at your breakfast and lunch and snacks, because you're going to get enough fat at nighttime. Should you track meals out or not? I would suggest that you just do a quick add of calories for about 800 to 1200 calories instead of tearing your hair out trying to get the meal correct. Different restaurants, different chefs, different portion sizes, they're all cooked differently and they all use different stuff. So it's really hard to get it right. If you were to look in MyFitnessPal, for example, and look up chicken pie, you're going to find an option that's 400 calories, one that's 1,000 calories, one that's 1,500 calories, and everything in between. How do you know which one's correct? You just simply don't. It's not possible to get it perfect. So just take the tracking with a pinch of salt here and don't stress it. Like I said before, eat a reasonable portion. Don't overeat. Take half home for lunch the next day. If there is too much food there, you don't have to eat it all in one go. If you do want to get it as correct as possible, I do recommend to add the ingredients individually. So don't just go chicken pie. You would add pastry, you would add chicken, you would add sauce, you would add the side of vegetables. Another example for pizza, say you would add a pizza base, you'd add the cheese, you'd add the toppings separately, and you could add the side salad separately as well. If you look at 100 different options of side salad, there's going to be different ingredients in every single one. So if you add the ingredients individually, you're much more likely to get it close to, but again, it probably won't be spot on. So don't stress it too much. It's just a few meals out. You don't have to track them. In terms of social events and gatherings at this time, there is a high food availability with lots of variety. Scientific research does show that when there is plenty of options available and you want to have a bit of each option, you are much more likely to overeat. You are going to eat much more in terms of calories and volume if you eat, say, 5 different types of crackers and 5 different types of cheese on the grazing board. I recommend just picking a few items and sticking with them, because that is the best way to reduce overeating for the sake of it. So you might pick one type of cheese, you might pick one type of cracker, and then you might pick something else on it that's sweet or that's like a vegetable or fruit. Don't stand next to the grazing table. If it is right in front of you, you will constantly pick at it, even if you don't want it. And don't overconsume just because everyone else is. We are social creatures. We want to do what everyone else is doing, but just stand away and go, do I actually want this? A couple of other notes here. Can you influence the food on offer? Is it a picnic? Is it a BYO plate? Can you bring a healthy option? If you're making the grazing board yourself, just make sure you have fruit, veggie sticks, and low-fat dips there as well. You don't have to pick the highest fat option, the most processed, or the deep fried stuff. You can have healthy options there because other people will thank you for it too. At barbecues, eat lean protein and salad. Again, eat similar to how you would at home. It is a very busy time. Sometimes things will come up at the last minute and you won't have time to have cooked and prepped or done the food shopping. So I do recommend to have all of these plan Bs. Healthy ready meals. My Muscle Chef actually stays fresh in the fridge for 10 days because it's been vac sealed. U-Foods lasts for about 3 to 4 days, depending on what the food is, but you can also freeze both these things. Frozen, steamed, fresh veggie packets, that's easy to just add to any meal, or you can microwave it, add a tin of tuna and a bit of cheese, and you're done. Frozen berries, in case you don't have any fresh fruit around. Keep tins of tuna in the pantry, and meals are grab and go. So things that stay stable in the pantry are really handy. And I've got some examples on the next page here. So like I said, my Muscle Chef, you can see that's vac sealed there. U-Foods, what you'll notice as well is both of these two, because they are designed for a very healthy, active population, there will be higher protein, lower fat, lower carb. They generally have a good amount of vegetables as well, but you can always just add another packet of frozen veggies. This is 2 vegan options. That one is black lentils, pulse, lasagna. This is a satay tofu from Plantitude. So they're good vegan and vegetarian options. And then this here and this here, both types of tuna, they are literally just from the shelf. You don't need to store them in the fridge, don't need to go in the freezer. You can just grab them and microwave them. And I'm pretty sure you can eat both of these at room temperature as well, if you don't mind the taste of cold rice. So you can grab and go with that. Like you can take it in the car with you and eat it if you're missing out on a meal. Snacks. You'll notice the trend here is that they're either high protein or high fiber. These are all chosen because they're lower calorie but higher in nutrients. So they will fill you up for longer, and they generally will fit into your meal plans perfectly. So fruit, veggie sticks, dip, that's all high fiber, really good stuff. Likewise, the fava beans, they're kind of half fiber, half protein. Tuna and crackers, all in one, comes with a little spoon as well. That's really easy to grab and go. The only thing that needs refrigerating here is the dip and the yogurt. But aside from that, everything's pretty stable at room temp. And then these high protein options at the top here, you can just grab these from any supermarket. So easy to keep a stash on hand of these too. More practical recommendations: do an online grocery shop each week. This saves you from having to go in, queue up, also see all the specials in store and the half-price chocolate and ice cream and things like that you know you don't really want to eat. So very efficient to do your online grocery shop. You can then get all the stuff on sale, literally sent to your door or click and collect. Saves you so much time, and we all know we're short on time around this time of year. Cook double what you need at dinner. You then save half for lunch the next day, or for dinner the night after, or for dinner in 2 nights from now. You'll thank yourself the next day. Repurpose leftovers, meaning that if you make something like a chili con carne, you don't have to have the exact same meal the next day. You can use that on top of nachos, or you can use that in burrito bowls. So you can chop and change your leftovers to suit you. You will eat what's available, so don't buy things you don't want. Like I mentioned, the on sale chockies, get rid of them. Re-gift your Christmas chocolates, or take them to a social event, or take them into work, but don't eat 1,000 boxes of favorites just because they've been gifted. You don't have to eat them all. Aim to bond over good conversation with people rather than food. You don't have to just keep eating. You can just have a good conversation with someone, sit back and relax instead of stress eating while you're at events. Remember that your friends and family care about you as a person, not what you look like or what your weight is. Overeating and binge drinking is not self-care. I know at this time of year, it's very tempting to say, I want to just have 4 weeks of a break from training and eating well. That is not healthy. It is not good for your body. You want to maintain at least the bare minimum level of exercise, and you still want to eat good food. Take time out for yourself daily. That could be 5 minutes with a good book. It could be quiet time with a tea. It could be going for your walk. Whatever it is, make sure you're putting yourself first, and put the steps in place to free up some more time for yourself. Outsource and delegate. Someone else can do the chores for once. You are the most important person to look after. Just to recap, make smarter choices when eating and drinking out. You can plan in advance. Always keep backup options in the kitchen and snacks, and don't forget to sit back and relax, because it is a wonderful time of year and you should be enjoying it. No action steps for this, just go back and read all those recommendations again. And thank you for joining me to understand a little bit more about surviving the festive season. You have absolutely got this, and I'm here to help.